Okay, I think I'm ready to start. There's a bunch of audio stuff that I have to test first, so be back in a moment. Let me just close the browser here. Okay, that should help a lot with like performance and stuff. Now I have to open it on my phone to monitor the stream. It's a shame that I have to do this, but I'm using OBS right now. And the upgrade in performance is so, I would say, significant that I don't want to squander it by opening up a browser because it will take too much processing power to run the stream that way. Oh, don't worry about the test messages that I've been sending to the chat. Alright. So that should show all the messages. We have to go to this one. I need to mute my phone to make this work. A bit of a chore to do, but it's kinda important. Right. Put my phone there, and then I will silence all the notifications here. Very good. Let's hear myself again. Hopefully there's nothing wrong with my voice here. I'm still testing out the audio, so it might take a while. Let's see. Oh right, I guess I'll just change the status here. We are live. There we go. Put it right there. There we go. And if we can change here, there we go. Hey, we're here. Man, it's a bit cluttered right now. Let me just make that smaller, and you too. Beautiful. Okay. Okay. So if I do testing 1, does it show up? The chat doesn't seem to want to show up, unfortunately. Hold on. Is there something wrong here? Well, there's something wrong. Hold on. I have to open the browser again. No. Why? But it seems like as soon as the message appears, it disappears. This is not good. I mean, I can still read the chat, but let's see, slide in. Okay, there's nothing wrong with this one. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have like a basic animation for the chat for now. I will try to like customize it as time goes on. Okay. Let me try this again. I'm gonna delete all of those and then do that, right? Alright, now test 2. I should have done this yesterday, but I didn't have the website to do it. Oh, what the fuck? Yeah, you can see the message appearing and then it disappears instantly. Let me look at the custom chat settings here. Oh, but yeah, welcome to the stream. I forgot to start the stream. But essentially, in this stream, the only difference from the previous Minecraft stream will be that I'll be talking about something. Because I have figured out that, like... Oh, there we go! Yay! It works! Yeah, I figured out that, like, simply playing the game while not doing anything doesn't really do much for content. That's why I decided to at least talk about something, right? While I am streaming. So today I decided to talk about general, like, how do I say this? General stuff about fiction, right? Because I've been trying to make an isekai video, but I've been failing a lot with that. And especially because there are a lot of new isekai animes that I haven't watched yet, that I really need to watch. Because like, you know, the general rule is that I have to watch something first, or like understand something first before I criticize it. I don't want to be that one guy that like talks about stuff without much of a care. and like I don't understand anything about it, stuff like that. It's a bit unfair in my opinion. That's why I decided to actually like watch a show if I want to talk about it. So in this case, the isekai video that I'm creating right now is about all the things that I like and dislike about the isekai genre, right? And that involves me talking about several, let's just say, shows that I have to talk about because that's what the video is all about, right? And this brought to me quite a troublesome dilemma because I know like I dropped a bunch of isekai animes because I don't like them. So, you know, like the smartphone one just sounds ridiculous to me. So I watched like several episodes and I immediately just dropped it. I don't know. I guess the theme of like, oh yeah, the main character is overpowered and then he got into many relationship. That like, it's a bit overused. Like I'm not interested in it anymore. But then again, like I watched a bunch of isekais in the past and I like them for the very same reason. So in the episode to come, I think like it will be like not only like a commentary but also like an introspection, I guess, like kind of video where I think about my taste in a way. So like, why do I like this stuff and why do I dislike it? Like, why do I like certain isekai animes with the same things while I hate certain animes with the same thing? Stuff like that, right? But yeah, which brings up the issue of like what is important in a show, right? In a fiction. Because simply showing fan services won't do much for your audience. I mean, some people like that. Like, I know a bunch of people that watch the like anime just because they like the fan services. Like they do exist, and I want to acknowledge that, but I'm not sure how to convey it in a way that is acceptable and entertaining. Because like, yeah, I can talk a lot of stuff about the stuff that I watch, right? But making it entertaining is a whole different thing. But yeah, so I will probably be listing out like a bunch of things that I like and dislike. So like, if it will be like a TV trope kind of episode, I suppose, where I'll like about like the general stereotypes and tropes about like certain themes and genres. And well, we've been talking about the isekai genre, so let's talk more about that. So in my last video, I talked about like, you know, what makes an isekai, right? Because if you think about it, it's not that different from the general like fantasy genre. So I differentiate the theme, right? With like, oh yeah, so the isekai genre relies upon the perspective of the main character because that's like the only difference really from a general like fantasy anime, right? Fanservice cuma tambahan, nyari story yang bagus aja. Oh, welcome to the stream Bang Murikari ya. Iya Gan, jadi kayak emang ada sebenarnya orang yang nonton anime tuh cuma karena fanservice doang gitu. Ada yang suka isekai cuma karena mereka suka theme fanservice-nya loh, bener deh. Kayak kayak suka buat harem gitu misalkan ya. Masalahnya gue bingung juga kan kayak mau ngerepresentnya gimana, soalnya gue bukan yang kayak gitu, bukan terlalu yang demen fanservice ya. Tapi kok gue dulu suka emang anime-anime beberapa tuh yang suka karena fanservice-nya doang gitu. Jadi kayaknya ntar gue kayak video berikutnya itu bakal ngomongin itu, apa yang gue suka dan apa yang gue nggak suka, dan kenapa gue suka satu hal dan nggak suka satu hal lainnya gitu. Soalnya aneh kan, kayak maksudnya kayak gue ngerasa kayak hipokrit gitu loh, kayak oh gue nggak suka misalkan isekai wa smartphone atau Tomoni gitu ya karena banyak fanservice-nya, kayak terlalu fokus ke fanservice. Tapi kenapa gue nonton tuh Love Ru gitu kan. Jadi gue mikirnya kayak untuk ngebahas yang gue suka dan gak suka itu kayaknya nggak bisa A, B, C gitu ya, tapi lebih ke A1, A2 dan B1, B2 gitu. Jadi kayak untuk hal ini apa yang gue suka dan apa yang gue nggak suka gitu kan. Jadi misalkan buat isekai tuh gue sukanya apa gitu kan, kayak power fantasy misalkan ya, kan sering tuh kalau di anime isekai ya power fantasy itu paling sering ya. Jadi gue tuh suka sebenarnya, tapi gue juga nggak suka gitu. Jadi bakal gue jelasin gitu kan, kayak power fantasy itu bagusnya tuh gimana sih buat gue secara personal gitu. Ya gitu, selera orang beda dan bisa berubah jadi tergantung faktor tertentu. Nah itu iya. Jadi gue bakal ngebahas itu bro di video isekai gue berikutnya. Itu yang kayaknya bakal agak susah sih ya. Soalnya ngejelasin yang gue suka, abis itu tiba-tiba berikutnya gue ngomong kenapa gue nggak suka itu kan. Itu bakal jadi challenge tersendiri ya. Oh shit, sorry. Mari kita ngomong power fantasy deh kalau gitu. Kalau kita nyari power fantasy sih ya, contoh paling bagus di season akhir-akhir yang baru ini, bisa bilang Eminence in Shadow. Kalau lo tau ya, yang Kage no Jutsu Ryakusha itu kata gue contoh yang bagus untuk power fantasy yang gue enjoy. Masalahnya gini loh, kayak ya bikin bagus tuh apa, soalnya kalau kita lihat dari segi naratifnya sih harusnya jelek gitu. Soalnya karakter utamanya nggak ada goal lain kan, cuma pengen edgy. Abis itu dia ngomong bahasa Inggrisnya yang apa, yang setengah-setengah gitu, anjir kan. Kalau apa sebagai murid sastra Inggris ya, gue harusnya nggak suka gitu. Tapi gue enjoy aja nontonnya, kenapa gitu kan? I am atomic. Iya, jadi kayak kalau ngomongin tentang power fantasy, kita harus cari tahu gitu kan, apa yang bikin power fantasy bagus gitu. Dan mungkin ini bakal gue bahas langsung aja kali ya. Jadi power fantasy bagi gue tuh tergantung sama ekspektasi ya. Jadi kalau lu nonton anime apa gitu, kalau lu kalau lu emang demen banget power fantasy nih ya, banyak soalnya nih yang nonton One Punch Man terutama kan pada suka nge-compare power, tapi beda gitu. Soalnya kalau lu lihat kayak Dragon Ball gitu yang banyak power scalingnya kan, sama Kage no Jutsu Ryakusha beda juga gitu. Jadi kayak ekspektasi kita saat menonton sebuah acara kayak sebuah anime gitu bakal menentukan kita bakal suka atau enggak sama acaranya ya. Jadi kalau misalkan kalau kita nonton yang mana ya? Coba cari anime isekai yang nggak terlalu fokus ke situ. Kata gue smartphone sih ya. Soalnya itu lebih fokus ke karakternya kan, ke haremnya itu. Setahu gue nih, soalnya di episode pertama langsung ketemu dua, abis itu langsung ada stereotype yang damsel in distress. Abis itu karakter utamanya nolongin langsung, dan dia dapat kekuatannya tuh bener-bener kayak off the go gitu, kayak dia nggak ada training, nggak ada apa, langsung dapat. Ini sama kayak kalau coba pikir lagi, misalkan apa ya isekai gitu tuh yang gua nggak suka. Isekai itu apa ya? Deathmatch itu juga fokus ke karakternya. Walaupun sebenarnya gue agak biased ya, soalnya kalau Deathmatch itu gue dulu ngebaca web novelnya dan gue suka. Masalahnya di situ. Jadi gue mau nge-reviewnya itu pasti bakal skewed perspektif juga ya. Dan masalahnya karena kita ngomong anime ya, jadi gue bakal ngomongin yang gue rasa tentang animenya. Gue nggak terlalu suka animenya bro, soalnya dia terlalu fokus ke karakternya. Jadi kayak ekspektasi kita dalam nonton anime tuh beda-beda kan, makanya kita bilang taste orang-orang tuh beda juga. Jadi ada yang suka banget power scaling, jadi mereka peduli banget sama actionnya gitu. Banyak yang nonton Overlord waktu itu sempet rame kan, terutama di season 2, soalnya mereka tuh kayak hampir nggak ada actionnya gitu, kayak kebanyakan world buildingnya, kayak ada karakter ini, karakter itu, mereka ngomongin ini, rencana mau itu gitu kan. Jadi kayak kontennya tuh mereka malah nggak suka, terutama yang Lizardman arc gitu loh. Soalnya pada nge-simp Ainz kan, kayak kita pengen nonton Ainz jadi badass gitu. Masalahnya acaranya bukan tentang Ainz doang gitu kan. Jadi kayak banyak orang yang mungkin nggak suka Overlord karena itu kebanyakan basa-basinya katanya. Padahal banyak orang lagi yang lebih suka karena di Overlord itu jelaskan dunianya gitu. Jadi story-nya matters. Emang nge-cheat dia? Wah, siapa tuh? Oh ya, Kage no Jutsu Ryakusha itu ya. Balik dulu ke Kage no dulu ya. Kage no tuh ya karakternya, kita kalau lihat dari segi ekspektasi ya, sebenarnya bagus kata gue itu. Walaupun kalau kita ngomong dari segi kayak writingnya, untuk karakter overpowered dia nggak terlalu bagus kata gue nih ya. Soalnya dia tiba-tiba kuat, abis itu di animenya itu di skip banyak kan. Jadi kayak dia mau training kayak kayak gimana kita nggak tahu, soalnya nggak dijelasin gitu. Kalau di Deathmarch juga nih, kalau di Deathmarch kalau di animenya juga di skip bro. Jadi kayak apa? Di awal-awal kan dia kayak tiba-tiba dapat dapat spell meteor itu, meteor shower ya. Setidaknya mereka masih ngejelasin gitu, tapi bukan berarti masih kurang penjelasan ya. Soalnya kalau di novelnya bro, Deathmarch itu ngejelasin kayak berapa chapter tuh bener-bener dah ngebahas magic system kayak lu kalau lu nggak suka ngomongin detail-detail gitu kan stres juga gitu nontonnya. Soalnya kadang-kadang Deathmarch tuh emang fokusnya tuh lebih ke dunianya gitu, lebih ke magic systemnya. Soalnya mereka ngambil sistemnya tuh lebih kayak programming gitu ya. Jadi kayak dia mau apa kayak beberapa chapter tuh ngebahas dia berusaha mempelajari gitu kayak oh gue mau magic ini cara apa ternyata gue bisa buat magic tapi cara buat magicnya gimana gitu kan. Jadi kita kayak ke immerse ke dunianya gitu loh. Kayak kita makin ngerti oh jadi magicnya begini. Akhirnya pas lagi ada konflik, pas ada action, stake-nya lebih jelas bro. Kita tahu konfliknya, apa yang bisa dilakukan oleh karakter utama, apa yang perlu mereka lakukan supaya bisa menang. Habis itu kita bisa teori juga bro, kayak misalkan oh kan dia ada spell ini ya, kenapa nggak pakai ini aja gitu kan. Jadi harusnya Deathmarch itu komunitasnya tentang itu menurut gua ya, soalnya gua sukanya itu. Cuma nggak ada di animenya tuh, malah lebih ke haremnya bro. Kayak lu lihat di misalkan ya, coba lu lihat endingnya deh. Ending si apa yang season 1 itu apaan sih? Itu yang apa yang si Redkin itu kan kayak yang mati berusaha melindungi yang elf itu. Abis itu di akhirnya dibuat kayak sobat-sobat sedih gitu kan, nggak masuk akal bro. Soalnya nggak dieksplor, jadi kita kayak kenapa kita harus sedih sama si Redling ini gitu. Soalnya kita nggak kenal ini siapa gitu karakternya kan. Kenapa fokus ke sini gitu. Itu aduh gila bro, gue kalau protes soal Deathmarch banyak banget sumpah dah. Cuma ya gue senengnya Deathmarch animenya itu karena karakter yang gue suka dianimasiin dan di voice acting. Itu buat fanservice bagus. Fanservice dari segi itu ya. Kalau fanservice dari yang bokepnya gue kurang sayangnya di situ. Oh aku nggak pernah baca novel sih, langsung anime aja. Oke kan, sebagai anime only, menurut lo bagus nggak Deathmarch itu? Gue nanya personal aja kok, nggak harus terpengaruh sama komentar gue barusan. Soalnya itu emang jadi kayak gue nggak suka anime itu cuma karena gue dulu tuh baca novel jadi nggak suka gitu kan. Banyak dan gue bahkan ya kayak misalkan oh anime ini gue suka-suka aja, tapi kok banyak manga readers yang nggak suka gitu kan sering tuh kejadian. Jadi gue harus mengerti tuh kayak sebelum gue ngekritik tuh gue tuh sebagai anime only misalkan gitu kan. Enggak. Ya iya bro. Jadi menurut gue Deathmarch itu kayak apa filler doang gitu loh. Kayak kalau lu nggak baca novel lu nggak akan ngerti ceritanya. Soalnya kenapa? Nggak dibahas ceritanya di situ. Why? Kan gitu. Jadi kayak ceritanya tuh kalau Deathmarch ya itu lebih ke explore dunianya kan. Masalahnya sih masalah fanservice-nya banyak juga sih. Itu emang udah staple lah Deathmarch sayangnya. Kayak di awal-awal tuh ya apa yang tiba-tiba ketemu siapa tuh gue lupa namanya. Gue lupa nama-namanya anjir, udah lama banget gue kagak baca novelnya. Ketemu 3 karakter tuh yang apa yang budak itu yang 3 kan, yang cewek-cewek tuh. Harusnya itu di chapter keberapa gitu. Mereka nge-skip berapa belas chapter itu cuma tai banget. Itu yang Serious City kan awalnya dibahas, di-explore. Habis itu ketemu Zena dulu. Habis itu apa mundar-mandir dijelasin kayak sistem apa pemerintahannya, tempat-tempatnya, habis itu kayak orang-orangnya di mana, tempatnya gimana gitu kan, kayak ada marketnya begini. Habis itu di sini ada ini gitu kan. Jadi lu kayak ngerti banget kotanya gitu. Jadi kayak kalau dari tema eksplorasi dan world buildingnya kata gue adequate di novelnya. Cuma nggak ada itu, nggak ada di animenya. Di animenya lu fokus ke karakternya doang. Dan make sense sih soalnya dia jadi harem anime gitu. Walaupun haremnya sebenarnya ada ya di source materialnya. Cuma bukan fokus banget gitu. Kayak maksudnya selain harem itu dia ada dunianya gitu. Jadi gua tuh kalau menikmati ceritanya, gua ngelihat ke dunianya gitu kan. kayak oh ini dunianya gimana sih kok tiba-tiba si karakter utamanya punya bisa ngeedit sebagai developer kan dia kayak awalnya kan dia kayak developer game gitu kan ya. Habis itu kita kayak dikasih tahu, oh apa sih apa kayak magic sistemnya tuh kayak game, sistemnya begini, kayak apa program makanya si karakter utamanya bisa kuat gitu kan. Jadi kita dijelaskan gitu, kenapa sih karakternya kuat gitu kan? Ya itu karena pengetahuan codingnya itu kepake jadi di dunianya. Jadi kita di novelnya malah belajar coding, bro, kan aneh kan? Lucu. Jadi kayak kalau lu nggak suka yang kayak gitu, mungkin nggak akan suka novelnya. Ya jadi mungkin kayak gitu sih apa kayak misalkan yang anime only watcher mungkin nggak akan suka source material ya malah karena inherently beda fokus gitu kan. Kalau ke Kageno apa yang kalau balik ke Kageno lagi nih, Kageno itu dia fokusnya emang ke power fantasy. Dari awal tuh kita emang dikasih tahu gitu kan. Wah, karakter utamanya badass gitu kan. Tapi orangnya biasa aja. Bro, itu sumpah dah gue suka banget itu yang di awal-awal ceritanya dari perspektif karakter lain gitu, kocak dah. Gue suka banget. Abisnya kita kayak diliatin kayak karakter utamanya, oh dia tuh karakternya begini, dia tuh emang pengen jadi kayak karakter badass gitu kan yang Eminence in Shadow gitu. Tapi dia stres karena di dunia asli dia kagak bisa makin kuat lagi, makanya butuh magic gitu kan. Tar, itu gue jadi berusaha mikirin lagi deh, pengen nonton lagi gue. Jadi kayak kalau lu lihat dari segi karakternya ya, karakter utamanya tuh relatable banget kayak untuk yang suka power fantasy ya. Soalnya kayak ya emang karakternya begitu, emang dia solely tentang power fantasy. Jadi kalau lu suka power fantasy banget, yang suka power scaling gitu, lu bakal suka banget Eminence in Shadow. Fokusnya ke situ dong soalnya. Dan walaupun haremnya ada ya, tapi nggak fokus ke situ kan, kayak lebih fokus ke karakter utamanya, dan mungkin emang lebih fokus ke karakter yang lain gitu ya, kayak side karakternya. Tapi akhirnya ada plot yang bagus. Soalnya kalau lu plot ke karakter utamanya nggak akan bagus, bro. Soalnya karakter utamanya one dimensional banget itu, kayak karakter utamanya kuat dan dia lebih pengen lebih kuat lagi. Udah itu aja kan. Jadi kalau lu kayak cerita dari animenya ya, kalau ngikutin journey karakter utamanya kata gue kurang bagus. Soalnya yang nggak suka power fantasy mungkin nggak akan suka gitu kan. Tapi yang nggak terlalu suka power fantasy, mungkin yang lebih suka story bakal tertarik ke animenya. Soalnya ada ceritanya, dan ceritanya lumayan gitu kalau kita lihat gitu ya. Kebetulan karakter utamanya yang Eminence in Shadow gitu kan, jadi dia nggak terlalu ngancurin ceritanya gitu. Biasanya kalau karakter OP masuk ke cerita, mereka bakal ngancurin, bro. Kayak oh ini kayak penjahat yang sangat berbahaya gitu ya, tiba-tiba datang langsung di one shot gitu kan. Aneh gitu kan ceritanya, jadi nggak ada krisisnya. Tapi di sini ada, soalnya karakter utamanya nggak mau jadi main karakter. Jadi interesting. Jadi orang-orang yang nonton juga kayak ekspektasinya oh ini ada cerita ini, abis itu nanti karakter utamanya masuknya di mana ya, abis itu ntar dia efek ke ceritanya gimana gitu. Itu yang bikin asik kata gue kalau buat Kageno. Kurang suka langsung berhenti nonton pas lihat episode 1. Aduh, iya bro. Sumpah dah, kalau lu nggak suka dari awal, percaya sama gue, lu nggak akan suka sisanya. Soalnya itu gue juga nggak suka. Gue nonton sampai akhir soalnya gue kayak hate watching gitu ya. Soalnya gue suka banget source materialnya, dan gue ngerasa di-betrayed sama studionya, bro. Anjing lu, buset, ini cerita bagus, kenapa kagak di present, bro? Asik. Sorry, ini gue banyak emosi ya ngomongin Death March itu. Tapi emang karena gue suka banget source materialnya, bro. Itu web novel pertama yang gue baca soalnya. Jadi mungkin bakal bias banget ya. Dan makanya gue mungkin kagak bisa ngejudge animenya doang gitu. Pasti gue ngebahas source materialnya juga. Jadi kritisisme gue untuk animenya tuh mungkin bukan yang the best untuk anime watcher ya. Sayangnya itu. Tapi kalau dilihat dari passion sendiri sih gue nggak akan kalah sih, bro. Kalau gue menurut gue personally ya. Just join, what are you talking about here? Hello Mesmer, welcome to the stream. We're talking about some isekai stuff. Maybe fiction in general. But we're talking about power fantasy right now. And why it's so bad and why I like it. Talking isekai. Itu, bro. kan gue mau buat video isekai ini berikutnya, jadi gue mau ngebahas dulu nih kayak gue tuh approach-nya gimana gitu kan. Mari kita ngomongin ke Kageno lagi, oke? Kageno tuh kata gue karakternya bagus, walaupun one dimensional ya, karakter growth-nya hampir nggak ada kalau lu lihat baik-baik deh animenya. Soalnya dia emang one dimensional, dia emang nge-appeal-nya tuh ke power fantasy crowd kan. Jadi banyak orang yang suka power fantasy dan Kageno itu benar-benar fokus ke situ. Makanya kalau lu nonton animenya, komunitasnya pasti banyak yang suka power scaling, yang suka karakter OP, jadi badass gitu kan. Dan banyak yang suka haremnya emang karena itu fokusnya ke situ. Dan kalau kata gue ya, untuk yang Eminence in Shadow tuh salah satu anime yang kata gue bagus dalam segi haremnya. Soalnya nggak terlalu kayak cerita karakternya tuh lebih bagus gitu. Jadi kayak dikasih waifu pun kita masih bisa mendalami gitu. Kalau lu lihat banyak anime tuh, terutama isekai ya, yang nggak peduli sama itu, kayak karena tiba-tiba suka aja. Habis itu wah ya udah dikasih fan service kayak ngapain gitu kan. Yang smartphone tuh lu tiba-tiba langsung yang damsel in distress trope-nya. Wah anjing gitu kan. Oke, fine. Tiba-tiba karakter datang. Cuma 10 detik masalahnya tuntas, udah kagak dibahas lagi, tiba-tiba nggak ada apa-apa, karakternya pada jatuh cinta semua. Why kenapa nggak dibahas tuh? Gue kesel banget itu anjir. Masalahnya bro, anehnya ya, ternyata ada anime isekai baru yang ternyata yang lebih jelek dari smartphone katanya. Gue ngeliat forum-forum gitu ya, katanya this is worse than smartphone. Kayak how do you top isekai smartphone? Like that show was so bad to me. For me in my opinion, like how can you beat that? How can it get worse? Jadi gue bakal mulai series baru ya. Gue bakal nonton animenya, tapi bukan react bro, sayangnya. Kalau react kan ilegal ya, jadi gue nggak akan kayak Giga suruh react to this anime, kayaknya gue nggak akan kayak gitu. Tapi gue bakal ngebahas per episode gitu ya. Jadi gue nonton satu episode, nanti gue ngasih kayak thoughts-nya gitu sama review gue untuk episode ini. Kayak gue ngikutin journey-nya gitu kan. Terutama soalnya gue mau mulai One Piece juga bro, jadi kayaknya gue butuh kayak gitu. Cuma kan kalau nge-react kan kayaknya kurang berkualitas ya, kurang transformatif, jadi gue nggak akan react biasa. Hai Giga-kun, anjir, welcome bro, welcome to the stream Waven. We're talking in Indonesian right now, but if you want me to speak in English, I can definitely do that. Don't worry, just let me know. Isekai, the bane of my existence, indeed. It's like an obligation to insert harem. I don't know why that's the case though. Like there are a bunch of anime though that doesn't focus on harem. So if you focus on, okay, let's look at Knights and Magic. This is like a good example of a non-harem anime. Yes, the main character has a harem sort of, but it's not the focus of the show. Like it just exists, like people like the main character, but that's it. That's not the focus of the show. The focus of the show is mechs, man. Dude, mechas are so good. Like I fucking love the genre. And I believe Knights and Magic is a good balance between isekai and like mechas. Because yes, the focus of the whole show is mechs, man. Like yeah, there are fan services like a little bit, but there's almost none. There's almost none in the anime that I know of. The anime focuses on combat. The anime focuses on like the general, like, you know, like the theme of rivalry, enemies become friends, stuff like that. You know, nakama, stuff like that, right? The power of friendship. But also like cool mech fights, and it's just a good mech fantasy, man. Like honestly, like if you like mechs and you like isekai, watch Knights and Magic. Because there's almost none, no fan services there. It's genuinely a good show, and it's also a proof that you can have an isekai anime without harem. Like I don't know what the obsession with harem for isekai genre. I don't know what's happening there, but I don't know, man. Like I think it's dragging down the genre in a way. You can't have a good isekai without harem, man. Like stop doing that. Oh, you want to start One Piece? I suggested the manga and not the anime because the pacing is garbage in anime. Really? A lot of filler. Oh no, I don't know about that, man. Maybe I can. Maybe I can read the manga instead. But I don't know, man. People say the anime is kinda good. Okay. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. Maybe I'll start with the manga. Maybe I will start with the manga, and then I will do like a per chapter review, or like a per 10 chapter review maybe, or like a per arc review. I think that's gonna be fun. When I started watching One Piece, I thought that the little boy in the beginning would stay with Luffy. What boy in the beginning? Waven, I don't think we should spoil the show. I have not watched this show at all. Like, I really need to watch it from the beginning. Like, I used to watch it as a kid, but I lost all memories of it. So I decided to, maybe this is a good opportunity for like a first time review of the series, right? I'm sorry, I just need to drink. But yeah, One Piece is one of those shows that I really want to watch because it's such a influential show that if I don't watch it, like I feel like I can't really talk about anime in general. I really need to watch it. Ya emang banyak fillernya kalau di animenya, makanya episodenya banyak. Oh, oke. Ya, mungkin gue bakal mulai dari manganya, bro. Kalau emang kayak gitu ya. Mungkin orang-orang bakal lebih nge-appreciate juga gitu. Maybe. Oke, jadi kita udah ngomongin power fantasy, udah ngomongin isekai, udah ngomongin harem. Apa ya? Oh, mungkin bisa ngomong harem lagi. Kenapa sih kayak kalau yang harem itu ya sebenarnya genre-nya tuh bukannya jelek ya. Soalnya kalau harem itu dia fokus ke karakternya dan interaksi per karakter gitu kan ya. Tapi kenapa karakter di harem isekai itu jelek banget, bro? Kalau lu lihat dari segi writingnya ya, kata gue kurang bagus sih. Kayak kenapa karakternya suka sama main karakter terutama nih. Ini kayak banyak banget isekai anime yang kagak bisa ngelakuin dengan bener. Itu gue frustasi juga sih sebenarnya. But yeah. For some reason like the characters in an isekai anime is so bad, and because a bunch of isekai animes are harems, like they don't have good like harems even because the character sucks. They don't grow. They rely too much upon the main character. They only focus around fan service. Like it's like the worst combination, man. Like if you want us to care about the characters, why not give them like a good story, like a good arc maybe. No, I'm not saying that all harem isekai is bad. Like I'm not saying that, but like most of them are bad. Come on now. I don't know. It's like that. They are wasting a lot of potential in simply ruining their character arcs. Demon Slayer in one sentence: breathing is fun. Oh yeah. I haven't finished watching Demon Slayer yet. I believe I watched the first season till the end, but that's the limit of it. And I wouldn't say it's a bad anime because it focuses on the story, right? There are characters, sure, and there is a bit of a harem there, but it's not the focus. This is the same with Knights and Magic too. A good show doesn't have to rely on harem. Harem is just like a side thing, you know, like a fan service thing. It shouldn't be the focus of the entire show, unless the show is all about that, right? So if you're talking about an isekai anime, just focus on the isekai part of the show. Like, you don't need to focus on the harem part, man. Now, there are exceptions. Like, I'm not saying like this is like the all and be all, like and all, like, you know, like it's not like the only option, right? So if you look at what was the anime again? Isekai wa Moba Nikibishi or something like that. Like where the main character becomes like a mob character in like a visual novel. I would say like the harem in that is kind of necessary, or not necessary, but it's the existence of a harem in that particular anime is justified because the anime focuses on that. So like again, it's all about expectation and what we expect from a show. So like for some people, like having harem stuff like that will actually enhance their experience in watching an anime. For some, it ruins it. For me personally, right, the theme of exploring like a different world is appealing to me. That's why I really like the fantasy genre. And the isekai genre provides like a very unique perspective into the fantasy genre. That's why I really like the genre. The problem is that not that many isekai anime focuses on the isekai part of the genre. They focus a lot more on other things. So like the power scaling and like, you know, like the general like power fantasy stuff like that. But I think like having power fantasy is okay and all, as long as the focus of the anime is exactly that, power fantasy, because it fits the show. If it doesn't fit the show, then don't force it in. Like let's see. If you fit a bunch of fan services into Knights and Magic, I don't think it will fit because the show isn't about that. They have fan services in a different way. They have a bunch of fan services for mecha fan like mecha fanatics because the show is all about mecha. And I think that's fine. Eminence in Shadow too, by the way, like the focus is the main character, I know, but they also focus on the other characters, right? And that's why I think like it is one of like the better harem anime. Like they put their like sufficient time, in my opinion, to make us care about each character. So like, you know, like the how do I explain this? Some of the characters especially, their arcs are so enjoyable to follow, in my opinion. So like some characters like Alexia, for example, like I like her arc very much because like she's unlike like the regular harem isekai heroine, right? Because like how she initially just uses Kageno just for her own gain to avoid like the arranged marriage, stuff like that. And then we grow to like the character. This is one of the things, right? Anime needs to stop focusing focusing on sex appeal to make the audience care about that character. It sucks. Like, why do we care so much, or like why the show wants us to care about a character so much if I don't want to put the time to give them a good story for it? That's why Genshin Impact, I believe, is so successful in like as a game and like as a gacha game, because like they focus and they put time and effort in making us care about the character. Right now, like if you look at fucking smartphone, right? I mean, again, I can't talk about the show much because I haven't watched it till the end. This is why I really want to watch it, by the way. I want to watch it not because I like the show, but because I want to criticize it. And I need to understand the show first before I can criticize it. But like if you focus a lot more on the fan service without putting in sufficient time and effort to justify, you know, putting so much screen time on a character, then it's a shit show. Like actually. If you want us to care about the character, put the proper time into the character. Like, if we look at, again, like, Eminence in Shadow, for example, again, right? We got, like, Alexia's sister, too, which is, like, some random character that we thought to be, like, a supporting, like, heroine or something. But then we grow to like her because then we start seeing things from her perspective, and then, like, oh, yeah, and then she's very involved with the main character, right? With Shadow, because Alexia's sister actually confronts Shadow more than once, and then we kind of supports her in like her fights with Kageno. So like we have like this interesting dynamic where like, oh yeah, like we like this character not only as a possible waifu, but also as a character. That's why we care about the show so much, because we wanna see how things go for these characters. We care about them. Which brings up the question of why people don't do that more often. Why a lot of isekai show just ignore their characters and just use them as tools for fan service. I think they can do a lot better. I mean, that's coming from me, who's not a writer for anime. So like, take things with a grain of salt, but still, man. I think it's fair to say the things that I say. Hey there, hello ABV. Oh, I guess it's Ice. Hello Ice, welcome to the stream. That's better. Yo, I'm getting a new toy gun, Auto Blowback Glock 18, I think. Oh, are you buying a new one? Congratulations. I thought you have bought the last one already. But yeah, let's stop talking about harem. I think it's done. Like it is overdone. Like I've given my take. I will talk about it more whenever I put out the video. So if you guys wanna watch that, make sure you guys are subscribed. Just stay tuned because I'm currently editing the video right now. Come to think of it, like, do you guys have any show that you want me to watch? Especially because I want to talk about like isekai, the isekai genre, right? Do you hate like a certain isekai that you want me to review, to talk about like the things that I don't like and like about it? Or you found like a certain trope in an isekai show that you want me to discuss in the isekai video? Let's see, are there any more tropes that I can talk about? Magic system. A lot of isekai shows focus a lot more on magic systems, as if we have to care about the magic, right? I would say magic systems are like flavor, like the icing on the cake instead of the whole cake, right? If you have a show, for example, a show that focuses a lot more, right, on the combat, then I think having like a robust magic system would work well, because then the audience will care about the magic, because, well, the characters that are fighting that they like are using said magic. So in this case, magic system will be quite important, because then we have to know like the system behind it, like the inner workings, and especially like in action shows, like if the viewers don't know what's happening. This is the case for Slime, by the way. The Tensei Shitara Slime Dattaken. That show, I believe, does a bad job. Well, it could be way worse, to be fair, but I don't think they have done like an adequate job. I think they can do a lot better, because I read the source material, right? I watched the web novel. No, yeah, I watched the web novel, not the light novel. But the web novel took their time, actually, like to explain, like, oh, like why do this, why do creatures evolve? How do monsters evolve? Like from the beginning, like from the Goblin arc at the beginning with like the wolf. They have a lot of chapters just talking about like the world system, because they have the sage, right? Like Rimuru has the world sage under his like disposal. So like he can ask questions to the sage, and then the sage will answer it, and then we'll have like a bunch of chapters just discussing about how the world works. And then when we get to new characters, for example, like when we met the ogres, man, the Onis, like I was fucking hyped, because then, oh shit, like because they're named characters, they might join Rimuru with his town. Like it will be, maybe they will evolve. Like how will they evolve? Like are they gonna be, oh they're gonna be so fucking powerful? How will they gonna look like? That, so like magic systems are fine if you have it. Like it is important for a world, but you need to understand when it's how do I say this? Appropriate to use it, right? So if you look at One Punch Man, like you don't focus on the magic system because there's none. Like that's just it. Like there's no magic system there. Oh yeah, like fucking Saitama trains every day until he became so powerful, and then there are psychers, like there are psychic like espers, stuff like that. There are people that can fucking move faster than sound. Like we just kind of accept it without magic system being explained, because it doesn't matter. It's not important for the story. because the story is not about the magic of the world, it's about Saitama and the superhero industry, right? So that's the idea behind it. Now, this is a good parallel, by the way. Let's look at My Hero Academia. Magic system there works well because they focus on the plot, and the plot focuses on the power, the power all for one for all and all for one, right? So explaining how the world works, how quirks behave, and how it can be passed down, like the way the power works, right? Like you have to eat like a body part, and then like, oh, it actually passes down like the accumulated quirk of like previous holders, stuff like that. I think it's important to have the magic system explained in that particular show because of that. Unlike One Punch Man, right? So we can already see, like, if we have certain expectation, and I'm not talking just about like the expectation of the viewers, by the way. I'm talking about like the expectation that we should have when we watch a show. So like when we see One Punch Man, we don't expect like a good world building. Like we expect Saitama being a badass or something, right? And like, you know, just like, oh yeah, all of these villains done in one shot. That's why Saitama always shows up late, because that way like we can enjoy the story of other characters. Because like we don't know like the level of threat like a threat would do to Saitama, because Saitama does everything in one punch. That's the whole idea about it. So explaining the power won't work well in my opinion, because it doesn't matter. Saitama will just end things with one punch anyway, right? But yeah, that's like the general idea behind it. Like, if you really want like a good magic system, you should watch like a show that focuses on the world or the story where the magic is relevant. It's not a requirement, let's just say that. Like, it's not mandatory to have a magic system. It is cool to have that, but you don't have to spend 5 fucking episodes explaining how the magic works if it's not relevant to the story. It's kind of funny, you know, that I think about it. And it doesn't have to fit the setting too. Like if you, for example, like Harry Potter, right? Like you can't talk about magic system there because it's a magic academy. Like we want to know how the magic works in that show, even though it's not the focus of the main plot, for example, right? That's my assumption here. Agree, it is the icing on the cake. Yeah, man. Like, it's fun to come up with magic system. Like, I am not saying that it's not fun. It's just that, like, if the story doesn't demand it, you can't expect people to like it. So, well, I talked about Death March earlier, so let's talk about it again. Death March, right? It focuses a lot more on, like, the main character and his journey in the new world, right? So, explaining how the world works is still relevant, in my opinion. Because then we can understand what's happening. Because like Deathmatch has a lot of like very like massive scale battles in the novel. So like, you know, oh yeah, there's this enemy, and then there's this enemy. Like how will the main character deal with it? Because oh, this you know, this thing that was explained like 5 chapters ago, it doesn't work on this particular enemy. Like holy shit, like how will the main character solve this? And then we can fucking like theorize like what can the main character do? Oh yeah, because the main character can make spells, why don't they make spells that help with this one? Maybe that one, you know, like the experience is important in my opinion with like isekai and stuff. So with Death March, in my opinion, the show, the anime, is kinda bad because it doesn't focus on all the good things that I like. Because this is like my personal opinion, right? But for people that like harems, that like, you know, fan services, that like, you know, just light-hearted like fucking fan service shows, they'll probably like it just fine. And I won't take it away from them, but you know, that's why that's what I like and I don't like about it. So let's like, okay. Well, I've been talking shit about fan services, so let's talk about it then. Fan services. They are, as mentioned, fan services. They are not supposed to be the main focus of the show, except, of course, if the show is all about that. I mean, if you are watching Tulo through, like, you just have to expect there to be fan services. That's just how the show is. High School DxD is the same. Like, their show is all about that. At least with DxD, I believe there's like a proper plot to it. So in a way, the fan service is still icing on the cake, right? But again, it depends on the expectation. Like, if you watch High School DxD, you expect there to be fan services. Like, that's just it, right? If you know the show. So fan services aren't as big of a deal as it is with like normal shows. Because that's why I've been very I would say very strict with or harsh with a bunch of the shows, especially Deathmarch, man. I keep talking about Deathmarch, but that's because I'm very frustrated with the anime adaptation. It's so bad. Like, I like the world, I like the magic system, I like how the main character takes on conflict, I like how the characters, like the Harem around him, was explained throughout like the volumes. Like, we have like, you know, in this arc we met Lisa, Pochi, and Tama. What were their names, I believe? And like how they interact with each other, like, and then we have their past, like the way they behave, and then we get to understand like their characters better, which makes fan services in like the tame way, not in the sexual way, right? But the tame fan services like head patting, like, you know, like pat in the back, stuff like that, like general pampering from the main character becomes more and more meaningful because we know what the characters have gone through. And then we care more about the characters, which means that we care a lot more about the fan service, right? This is still talking about the fan service, by the way. Because I believe like there are good and bad fan services. If you look at fucking Isekai Smartphone again here, oh my god. Dude, I really have to watch that show. Like, honestly. If I'm about to talk a lot of shit about the show, I really need to watch it. I don't know if you guys have watched it or not. Have any of you guys watched that show? I really hate doing this, but I don't want to criticize a show without watching the whole thing. But I dropped Isekai Smartphone after 2 episodes because they don't explain shit. Just, oh, the main character enters this new world. For some reason, he decided, oh yeah, I'm too reliant on my phone, fucking zoomer. So, yeah, I want to keep my phone functionality, and for some reason the god gave a bunch of powers to the main character? Why? Like, I don't know what's happening there. How the magic works? I don't know. The main character is just a badass. Okay. Like, what the fuck? What's the plot? I don't fucking know. It's just the main character meeting new people. That's it. And the theme about exploration is fine. Like, I really like the theme of exploration. That's what Deathmarch is all about, actually. Deathmarch, by the way. Dude, like, the way they explain their journey, like, there has been, like, and I'm talking about tens and, I guess, like, more than 50 chapters, right? Just taking place in carriages. You know what they're talking about in carriages? They talk about, like, you know, like the plot points, like the hooks. They talk about the magic system. They talk about the characters. Because in the carriage, like, they get to, like, you know, like, have, like, their periodical stops. Like, they sometimes camp outside, and then they will find new, like, micro, like, plot points, or like, some, like, side stories as they go throughout the world, right? And then, oh yeah, you know, well, I have these slaves now. How do I take care of them? Oh yeah, let's give them gear. So, like, oh yeah, so the story now focuses a lot more on the heroines, right? And like how they can grow as a character, because now because at first they don't have the power to protect themselves, but the main character decided to, all right, I'll give you that power. Like, you're my but I will treat you as equals. I will take care of you and stuff like that. And because we know the background of the characters, like, we know, like, how much they've grown, the fact that, like, the heroines like the main character makes sense. I think we don't talk enough about how things making sense is very important to immersion. And for me, Deathmarch is very immersive. The novel is very immersive, in my opinion. because they explain a lot of things, like they justify certain things, like why do this character like this character, why do this character behave a certain way to this character, like everything is explained. Like if you ask me like why do like Lisa like the main character so much, like they've like you can't say the main character has done nothing, because in the novel, oh my god, the things the main character has done to protect them, like oh my god, like their attachment feels natural, which can't but the same can't be said about a lot of harem isekai animes. Heroines just become so obsessive, so possessive with the main character without a good reason. That's why it feels cheap. It feels forced. It doesn't feel good to see, like, you know, like the fan service stuff like that. It doesn't feel like anything. It feels empty, void. That's because there's a lack of focus on that side of things. Like, we don't care about the character because the show doesn't care about the character. We need to, like, if you want like fucking fan services for a character, make us care about it. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this. Tool of Ru does a good job of getting us attached to characters. Like, no joke. It is a fan service anime, don't get me wrong. And I don't think it's a good show. But for a fan service show, I really like it because like they have like a bunch of like arcs with like each like heroines. So like that's why like discussions for like, you know, the waifu wars with like fan service shows like that are very intense. Because some people like certain characters that they want them to get together with the main character. Why? Because they care about the characters. I don't hear waifu wars with smartphone, by the way. I don't hear waifu wars with fucking Death March for the show. I hear waifu wars about Eminence in Shadow. I hear waifu wars from One Punch Man. And One Punch Man isn't really a fan service anime. Like, that's the power of making us care about the character. That's why you need to pay attention to the story, man. Like, you need to actually write about stuff, dude. You can't just expect us to care about the character without making us care about it. Give us a reason to, right? Maybe, like, you know, like the way a certain character thinks politically, stuff like that. Like, if you have a certain affinity to a character, you will care a lot more about what happens to them. Which means that for like fan servicey show, it's really important for me, in my opinion, to like focus a lot more on the characters. Because if you want to like focus a lot more on like, oh yeah, like let's see this character getting fucking like I don't know, done like some degenerate shit done to them, make us care about them at least. Like why am I watching this? You know, justify us to watch the show that you want us to watch. But yeah, that's enough about fan service, I think. Oh my god, like, I am a very opinionated person when it comes to things that I believe I understand. So, like, you know, I like astronomy, right? I like space and stuff. Oh yeah, speaking about Magic System 2, by the way, with Sci-Fi 2, like, if it's not relevant, you don't need to discuss it, you know? Like, there's a lot of sci-fi, especially like, you know, like Star Wars, for example. Like, you know, like, the Force is very important to the plot. That's why you need to explain it. And, you know, it's not even explained that well, in my opinion, because I've watched Star Wars for some time now. And I don't know what's going on there. But at least people understand what the Force is, and, like, you know, like, the Force exists, and this is the power that, you know, like, all of the Jedis use, stuff like that. So, like, you don't have to go like to like the birth of something just to justify its existence. Although, if your world focuses a lot more on world building, I think it's important to do that because some people really like that. I am the example of one of those kind of people. I really like it when like a world is like well built because again, every crisis that the main character will face, we will be a lot more engaged in. So like. Let's see. Oh yeah, so like if you look at Slime, right? Like the fact that like, oh, apparently there are, so like when Rimuru met Shizu, we were like confronted with the possibility of other people being transported into this world, which means that, oh shit, if all many humans that got transported to this world is this powerful, like what kind of threat will Rimuru encounter in the future, right? Which so it adds expectation and tension to the story, in my opinion, which makes it good. So like, if you focus a lot more on characters, just make us care about the character. If you focus on the world and the combat, like the conflict a lot more, explain about like the intricacies behind like the relationship of characters, like the behind the scenes, right? If you get that right and people actually care about the character, you can slip in like a bunch of like background information, like lore dumps and shit. And if you add in like magic systems to the mix, like people, especially like I have noticed that power scalers really like to explore like the how each character's powers work. So like if you can feed into that passion, right? So like if you look at fucking Dragon Ball and like you see like how many power scalers are available in that fucking series, right? You will see that they care a lot about like how a power works. But like, hold on, I'm sorry, I ran out of breath. Whew. Like the golden form of Frieza means like his power level goes beyond fucking 10 billion or something, and like it means something to them. Like to us it means nothing. Like it's just a bunch of numbers, like, oh, huge numbers, big numbers means powerful. But it means something to them because they understand what the show was trying to convey to them. We don't get that because we don't watch the show, for example, right? But it means something to them. And if people care about it, why not hone in more on that? Like, if it's like a fighting, like an action heavy anime, why not talk about the magic system if it has magic? Why not talk about like the way like the body works, for example? If you read Baki, by the way, if you watch Baki, they talk a lot about martial arts, about how like body works. They talk about adrenaline. They talk about endorphins, stuff like that. And I don't understand half of it, right? But simply knowing that those things exist makes things a lot more believable. Like, I mean, how do you believe someone that can stop earthquake by stepping on the ground? Like, it's so unbelievable. But it makes sense in the universe because they explain it with like oh yeah, like this guy is insane, like, and then because we know already about like how Baki, the main character, gains his power from, like, oh yeah, like he has to like achieve like many times of like near-death experiences just to get that endorphins running, and which will inhibit like pain or something like that, and that will allow humans to go beyond their limits. So stuff like that, right? So like when it's like an action-heavy anime or like show, I believe like explaining like how the world and like the system works is quite necessary for immersion purposes, or just general power scaling purposes, actually. So when you look at Isekai Pharmacy, I don't know if you guys know that show. It is a good show, by the way. Don't get me wrong. But at the beginning of the show, there was this scene where like, oh yeah, the main character has so much magic. Like, oh yeah, I think it doesn't matter. Like, it's useless. Like, I don't think we need to establish that much. Like, it doesn't need that prominent stage at the beginning. It doesn't need that much focus because the show isn't focusing too much on magical power. And to be fair, the show doesn't focus on magic powers. No, they don't, and they don't really hone in a lot more on the magic system. But they do, however, focus a lot more on the blessing of the god of medicine, right? Because it is relevant. So like, they don't talk about combat magic that much, but they talk about, like healing magic a lot. And then they talk about like alchemy, like how like the main character now can make substances to make medicine, for example. That is important. So like the way you explain things, like relevant information is really important when it's relevant. And some information is just better to be omitted entirely from the show because it doesn't matter if you know them or not, because it does nothing, man. Come on now. Yo, you want me to send you the gun video I'm gonna get? Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Bucky and believability is oxymoron, lol. It is pure nonsense, and that's why it's so fun. Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like, if you say if you ask me whether Bucky is realistic or not, no, hell no, it's not realistic in any way. But in the show, such ridiculous things make sense because yeah, that's how the world works. Because the author took their time to explain shit. So that it is, okay, yeah, the world works this way. I believe this might happen in this world. Which makes, you know, like the journey much more enjoyable, in my opinion. Hold on. Also, One Punch Man is a self-aware anime that understood that tone of comedy, so it works well. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing again with what I said about expectation. If you go into One Punch Man expecting like an intricate plot, you won't get it. No, like it's not relevant, right? But there is an intricate plot. So like it is a pleasant surprise because the show, like the general premise of the show is fucking stupid, right? I mean, it is interesting, but it's like super cheap. Like, oh yeah, the main character can defeat anything with one punch. It should have been bad. It should have been because it's a power fantasy. But no, it's so good. Why? That is the question. Because they put in their time to build like a good story around the theme of power fantasy. They don't focus too much on the combat of Saitama. They focus a lot on other characters, and Saitama just simply exists there. And I would say that Saitama is like a supporting character, and the main character is actually the heroes of the heroes agency. Because that's how the show works, which means like the power fantasy doesn't take away from the experience of watching the show and like the tense situation that the characters have been put in. Because Saitama always comes late, so we see like all of these characters that the show has done their best to make us care about. And like, you know, we know their powers, we know what they're capable of, or maybe they will show what they're capable of during the crisis, right? I think it's cool. I really like the One Punch Man because they focus not on like the power fantasy side of things, but they focus a lot more on like Saitama as a character, like how they can be a better hero, how like they can enjoy life, how like Saitama copes with his like predicament of like his situation where no one can bring him excitement anymore. Like those are better themes than simply, oh, this guy is powerful and by the way he has a harem. Like that's not how it works, man. Come on now. But that's how isekai works nowadays. I fucking hate it. Prison School is the GOAT. The mangaka just full on ecchi and no half-half, while fanservice sequence in anime just dismembered the story into. I mean, bro, like if you watch Prison School, you just expect that to be the case, man. Like fanservice is part of the show, so it's not that big of a deal. And also, they took their time too, man. Like I watched Prison School for like half a season, I think, and we kinda care about the waifus too, dude. Like we care about the characters because we were presented with their characteristic, right? Oh yeah, this guy likes this guy likes that, and then we get to like, you know, we get to watch them like fooling around in this like environment where men are persecuted. But it's so good. Yeah, so that's the case, right? Because we care about the characters, we care about the fan service. Simple fan service doesn't work because it will only feel cheap if you don't give enough time for us to care about the characters. So like, we don't consider Prison School to be a cheap show, right? I mean, I don't consider it to be a cheap show. It is a fan service show, don't get me wrong, but at least it's not a cheap one. They at least put in some effort, right? But yeah, that's like my take on prison school. Is it just me, or do I eat with my mouth open at home and eat closed at school? I would say it's due to like, you know, like in public you have to behave yourselves in a certain way, because if you eat with your mouth open, some people will judge you for that. But at home, like, not that many people will judge you for it. Like, it doesn't really matter, right? It's just your family. It's about like adhering to the social norms, Ice. It's what we humans do to fit in with society. What's your opinion on My Hero Academia then? Well, I mentioned it before. Like, I believe, like, yes, it is an action heavy like show. It's not a power fantasy, mind you. Well, there is power fantasy to a certain degree, but they focus a lot more on the characters too. Now, I believe it's okay, right? Focusing on a lot of characters, because they have like a really good like cast of characters. The thing is, they focus to, but they shift the focus, I believe. So like, what was supposed to be like a hero journey for like all of these characters, and then it turned to be like, you know, oh yeah, we focus more on this character. So like, I believe like it splits the community somewhat. Now, I'm not saying the show is bad, not by any means. I believe it's good, that's why it's successful, right? But I believe like the focus of the show shifts over time, and like people that like, you know, like the character interaction, like people that like slice of life might like the first few seasons, maybe like the first or second season of the show, because then it focuses a lot more on the characters. Like the Todoroki arc was amazing in my opinion, you know, and then we get to like the things with Bakugo and Midoriya. So like people that cares about like interpersonal relationship like that, like people that cares about the characters, because they do make us care about the character a lot. I believe the show does well on that. But yeah, I think My Hero Academia is good. I believe some people don't like it anymore, because Midoriya becomes like this one-dimensional character that is so stubborn about his sense of like, you know, righteousness and justice when it doesn't make sense. I kind of get that, you know, like, and again, it's about expectation. Like if you came in My Hero Academia expecting like an intricate story, I don't think you'll get it. This is just my opinion, by the way. Like I'm not, I didn't mean to diss or like talk shit about the author, but like, the show appeals to a certain demographic, and if you don't like the show, then it is what it is, right? I totally understand why you won't like it. Quick question: why do you turn every question in your live chat to like 5 whole paragraphs? Well, that's what live streaming is all about, though, isn't it? The thing about live streaming for me is all about like interaction, right? And I like to talk about stuff. Always have been, actually. That's why, like, if I can provide content through like my commentary, like through the way I think. That's why I'm currently creating a video, like a commentary video about like things that I like, right? So I talk about Monster Hunter in the past. I talk about Ultraman. I talk about fucking anime now. I talk about, you know, like a bunch of anime too. Actually, like I have my old anime list video, which I will which I'll redo, by the way, after I'm done, you know, with some other stuff that I'm working on right now. Ah, yeah, there you go, man. You know, like, Ice, have you seen like a streamer that like gets too focused on the game that they ignore the chat? At that point, like, what's the point of live streaming, man? You know, like, it is a different thing when like the streamer is trying to entertain the viewers, right? So I guess this is the difference between me and like those kind of streamers. And I'm not saying that I'm the only one that does this, by the way. I rely a lot more on like, you know, discussion. That's the focus of my channel. Discussion. So when I'm talking about a game, especially in Skyrim, right? If you look at my Skyrim playthrough, I talk about like, you know, like the things that you can find, and then I don't think I've done this before, but I like talking about like, you know, like the lore, like the world of Skyrim, the world of Tamriel, stuff like that, Nirn. I really like talking about those, so I might talk a lot about, like, for example, if we play Skyrim and we reach like the quest line for Meridia, right? So right now, in Skyrim, right, I'm about to start the Meridia's Beacon quest. I will talk a lot about the Daedric Prince, about Meridia, and like the theme surrounding it. You know, maybe because Meridia hates undead, I might discuss about undead in fiction. So that's like what I'm providing here, right? I'm providing my opinions and my arguments relating to things that I talk about. So yeah, you guys can look forward to me talking about the undead a lot when I play Conquest of Elysium 5 as the Necromancer, or when we get to Skyrim and we talk about undead that way. Yeah, it became boring where streamers just zoom in on a game and give zero engagements. Now, don't get me wrong though. Like, there are people where gameplay is their main focus. Like, you know, like high-end, like competitive players, for example. Like, you are there for the gameplay. Like, come on. And even more people focus a lot more on personality. Like they are a funny guy. Like they react to certain things in a video game in a very entertaining way, in an over-exaggerated way. Like, I'm not saying those people don't exist. Like, it's just not my style, unfortunately. I mean, it is to a certain extent to me too, but I am not claiming that I'm an expert in that regard specifically. I'm sorry. I talked a lot, huh? Hold on, how long have I been streaming actually? Let's talk about other things while we wait. I've been talking for a whole hour. Oh my god. As a preface, the streamer that I mean is the non-competitive one. Ah, there you go, yeah. Yeah, man, I totally understand that. Like, I have seen a bunch of streams where people just stay silent and play the game. And I don't like those kind of streams. That's why, when I say I don't like, right, I'm really afraid that I will be one of those streamers, right? So I've been like talking shit about them, but what if I became one of those streamers? That's why I talk a lot. That's why I decided I have to talk about something when I stream from now on. Because I don't want to be that guy, you know? Like, I don't want to be the very thing that I'm criticizing. I don't want that to happen. Alright. So I think I'm done with the bottom part. Now I think I can go to the top part here, and I'll continue the builds from there. Some girl I sit next to eats with her mouth wide open. Another girl in my brother's class is a bully attention. What? What are you talking about? Are we talking about fiction here? I'm sorry, man. Okay, let's talk about some of the things about fiction then. But yeah, oh man, I don't know about eating with your mouth wide open. Like, if you don't care about what other people think, I think it's fine. But like, that's that's kind of stupid. No, my class, I see. Some girl eats and chews with her mouth wide open. Yeah, I mean that. Well, I mean, just leave her be, man. Like, you know, let her be the person she wants to be. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I mean, we can judge her or whatever, but like, it's her life, right? If she wants to be perceived by others as that girl that eats with her mouth wide open, then, you know, all power to her, you know. I mean, that's not for me, but alright. I mean, it's your body. I think people judge other people too much, you know. Like, unless the people related are asking for your opinions, I think people should just shut their mouth, you know. I mean, I'm talking like this, maybe because I'm projecting or something, but I mean, isn't it obvious, right? Respecting boundaries, right? Like, if you're not like a close friend of the person, like, I think we shouldn't judge people willy-nilly, right? Like, we don't know their past, we don't know what brings them to this point in life where they act a certain way. Like, some people are very distrustful of others. Like, we shouldn't judge them solely based on that. Like, if they don't ask for our opinion, we should keep it to ourselves. I mean, I'm not saying judging people is bad, but like, just keep it to yourself, man. How many conflicts could have been avoided with us just minding our own business, right? That's my opinion, at least. I think you sharing your passion for fantasy and fiction in general is interesting, and combine that while playing game, remind me of the good old day of commentary channel in YouTube. That's actually the thing too, man. I really like commentary channels that talks about that kind of stuff. That's you know what? Maybe I will go with that approach, right? I like playing games. I like sharing my experiences in playing the game. So I will play the game while talking about stuff. Now for Genshin Impact here, for Genshin with like plots and shit, because I have a passion in writing and like creative writing, right? I can talk a lot about like the world, you know, like I have criticized the game a lot about like, you know, the plot being too lengthy, of like the content being too stretched, like the things that I would have done differently, the things that I hate, the things that I like, right? So like that's like the kind of content you can look forward from me, I guess, from now on. Because I really like the things that I like, right? And I also want to know and learn about things that I don't know about. So I might review books too. Like, Mesmeron, I believe you have provided me with a bunch of like digital books that I haven't read. So I'm thinking maybe I can start like a book review, like a chapter by chapter read along maybe. Like, oh yeah, I read chapter 1 until 10, and this is my thoughts on it, stuff like that, right? I think it's gonna be fun because I do like talking about it. You're a very unique streamer. Ice, I wouldn't claim that credit. Like, I believe there are a lot of streamers that does things the way I do, but I don't know them. That's why I only talk from a first-person perspective, because I don't know other people that does this. But I'm sure other people think the way I do too. Like, there are people that thinks the same way that I do. I am not this, like, I'm not a special boy, right? Can't be. I don't believe that for a second. I won't give myself that kind of credit. Yeah, you can critique what works and not. Yeah, man. I mean, I don't have to be an expert to say when I don't like a certain food, right? I mean, if I eat shit, I don't have to be a fucking, like, culinary connoisseur to say that it's shit. It's poo-poo. I don't need a degree to say that. That's, but if I have to give like a proper like review or like a proper like criticism, I have to understand what I'm saying, which I do not right now. That's why I'm limiting myself to like a very narrow like niche on YouTube, which I'm planning to broaden, by the way. For example, like if you see like a streamer that plays PUBG, that plays Counter-Strike, that plays like, you know, other competitive games like that, they'll have more knowledge and more authority when talking about like experiences in multiplayer games. They'll have more experiences and credibility when talking about like game balance. They can talk a lot more about like, you know, like meta, stuff like that. Stuff like, you know, like those kind of stuff where like they are capable of talking about those kind of stuff, which I am not, right? So like if I want to talk about, for example, like isekai, I have things to say about isekai because I really like the genre. I have watched a bunch of shows with isekai themes. I have read a bunch of web novels with the exact same theme, and I have read a lot of stories in general. That's why I believe it is justified for me to talk about it in a certain way, right? Same with fucking video games, you know? Like, the things that I like about fucking Elder Scrolls lore, for example. That's why I can talk about it, because I'm confident enough in my knowledge. Although I'm not saying that I'm an expert at it yet, but at least I do have like a certain level of understanding of the world that justifies me talking about it. And I mean, if you think about it, like if people just, you know, mind their own business again, like they know their limits, they know certain things and dislike certain things, and like if they just stick to that, like I don't think there would be like that many issues in the world, man. Like people like that understands politics now can talk about politics, and maybe people that don't understand politics can just not talk about politics, man. Like, come on. It is an intricate things that may affect like a lot of people, right? So like if you don't understand too much of it, then don't talk about something as if it's real, stuff like that. But don't worry, just because I'm talking all about that, I'm not gonna be a political channel. I don't like talking about politics in general, unless it's relevant to the content I'm creating, right? So like, oh yeah, you know, like the monarchy or like the feudal system in this anime, that I will talk about the feudal system. Like I won't shy away from that. I love eating a shart. What? I like your accent. Thank you, man. I do try to like shift my dialect and accent to a certain extent to like the American dialect, but I'm not that good at it yet. I have to be exposed to a lot more like American English, which I am not that well exposed to it yet. Let's see, what can we talk about after we talk about... Okay, so we talk about fan services, we talk about isekai, we talk about, you know, character, we talk about power scaling, you know, like power fantasy. We talk about some real life stuff too. We talk about this channel. Don't be American, be yourselves. Thanks, man. Yeah, I have come to embrace my accent a lot more, because it gives off that like unique taste, right? Something that no other people have is myself. So why not be myself, you know? Very wise words indeed, Ice. Thank you so much for the kind words, dude. Hold on. Oh god. How do I go here? Eat. There we go. What should we talk about then? How about romance? Yeah, let's talk about romance. Romance. I've been watching Trash Taste a lot, and Garnt or Grant, I don't know how to say his name, Garnt, talk about it at one of the streams about like how romance in anime and manga is like the idealized version of it, right? I don't know if he said that, but I'm pretty sure someone from that community said it. But like the romance in anime is like very idealistic, like very romanticized. That's why people like it, right? That's why it feels, you know, innocent. It feels, I would say, very imaginative in a way. It doesn't feel real. It feels very dreamy in a way, and I do agree with that statement. Because the real romance is ugly. People cheat, people lie to one another to like get acknowledgement, stuff like that. People like don't talk about their problems with one another, and they just cheat instead of like talking it out. Stuff like that. That's why like realistic romance nowadays has been getting a lot of traction. Has been getting like a lot of traction in anime. So if we see like Horimiya, right? Like the romance rival, you know, like them becoming friends, like it's a bit unexpected, but the way they behave is realistic. Like it's not like, it doesn't feel fake, right? Sometimes like writing something to feel like it's real and believable is important, because then like you won't have people scoffing at your work just because they don't sound realistic, you know. This I guess goes back to like our talk about like isekai again, and like fantasy genre in general. I mean, it's fiction. Like you have a lot more freedom in that regard, but making things more believable doesn't hurt, right? Ah, Nahida Wangi lah bro, Bang Rif, welcome. Datang langsung ngiler bro. Welcome to the stream, Rif. Ini bang lagi ngomongin tentang fiksi bro kita. Dari tadi ngomongin tentang fan service, isekai, power fantasy, banyak bro. Grant, good, Steve Henge. What? What? Mesmeron, I think I lack context with that. Okay, I don't know much about romance, so I'm not gonna talk much about it. Let's see. Let's talk about conflicts. Nah, I'm not that good with that either. Character crisis, maybe? Endings, maybe? What the fuck? Yeah, man, like, we're talking about like a lot of stuff today. We talk about fiction in general, to be fair. And it's super fun. Unfortunately, I'm running out of topics right now. I have prepared for all of the topics that I've made right now, but I need more topics to talk about, man. It sucks that I don't know what to talk about. Let's see. Maybe I can talk about anime again. Oh, maybe we can talk about fantasy. Okay, we talk about isekai. Let's talk about fantasy. Like, we talk about fantasy, right? But like, how much fantasy is fantasy? Let's talk about that. Play the Vsauce clip here. How fantasy can a fantasy be a fantasy? Did you know you're first Indonesian I've ever known? Really? Well, I guess it's believable. Nowadays, the Indonesians on the internet is getting more prominent. So you can go around the internet and you will meet a lot more Indonesian than ever before. You might meet more Indonesian than ever before. There we go. I can talk English. I like element of romance in story, but romance as a whole anime is a gamble. Yeah, bet. If you focus too much on like the like relationship and stuff, it just gets boring, man. Like, I mean, we're here to escape reality, dude. I mean, sure, like, I'm not saying it, romance bad. No, I'm not saying that. But like, there are a market for everything, right? So people that really like, like deep, like shows that like focuses a lot more on romance will have a lot of romance. I like Horimiya. I like wait, what was that show that I watched? Kaguya-sama also has a romance. And the difference between the two is that the similarity between the two is that they both have comedy as their main genre. So like we have our expectation already dialed down there. Don't expect like a really deep romance experience. Of course, with Horimiya, it focuses a lot more on the romance side of things, with comedy as the icing on the cake. Kaguya-sama with like the main point being the comedy and the romance being the icing on the cake. And oh my god, dude, both of those both of them are really good romances in my opinion. I don't think I've ever watched like a proper like full-on romance anime, unless you count Horimiya as one of those. There are genuine good romance animes. I Like to Eat Your Pancreas is an example. What? Oh, that one. Okay, yeah. I think I have seen that show, but I haven't watched it yet, so... Well, I guess I'll have to get to that. Can it shrug? What the fuck, Bang Rif? Okay, I just realized from my phone, but many of your chats are being censored by YouTube. So, like, if you guys are, like, sending messages and I'm not responding to them, just know that it might be censored by YouTube. I'm so sorry, man. I don't know what's wrong with YouTube nowadays, man. Okay, let's talk about censorship, right? Like, how much do you need to censor for it to be child-friendly? Why do you even aim for child-friendliness in the first place when you have YouTube Kids? Like, this is the YouTube website, right? It's for everyone. It's for mature audiences. It's for everyone, really. Like, there's no limits to YouTube. Well, it's supposed to be. There aren't supposed to be like too many censorship. But YouTube decided that it wants to be child friendly. Why? There are YouTube Kids. Like, is that not enough? Right, it makes zero sense. I know. I mean, the rules at me like, oh yeah, you cannot swear at the first 3 minutes. Like, who is this for? Kids? You have YouTube Kids for kids. This is not it, dude. I mean, if kids go to the YouTube website expecting child friendliness, then I mean, it's their risk to take. I'm not saying kids aren't supposed to be here, but like, I'm talking about YouTube itself. Like, if you really want kids to not go, if you really want kids to watch child-friendly content, make them watch YouTube Kids. Like, why the rest of us have to be forced to cater to children? Like, that's not a thing that should be a thing. I mean, I'm a kid, yeah, Ice, but like, I'm not blaming you for going here, you know. Like, I mean, dude, as a kid, I go to porn websites all the time. It's fine. It is a risk that I took because I decide to go there. So right now, you decide to watch YouTube, the website, right? So you should be allowed to watch, you know, like non-child friendly content. Like, you know, like a lot of swearing, for example. Like, people talking about like really like diverse topics like politics, right? You should be like, people should be allowed to watch those kind of content because they decide to go to the YouTube, like the normal YouTube website instead of YouTube Kids. So the content on this particular website should be available for everyone and shouldn't be limited by the child-friendly rules. Why are we forced to follow these rules? Like, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, I still think it's dumb that we are supposed to follow the, you know, the guidelines. Oh yeah, everything needs to be child-friendly, but it doesn't make sense because it's not YouTube Kids, right? Wanna hear me rhyme? Sure. Oh yeah, I'll be streaming for 2 hours today. Well, for this morning, and then I will stream again later with the art stream. I don't know if I will, because my spine fucking hurts now. Mesmeran, I believe you too have spine problems. I'm letting you know, right now, I have a really massive problems with my tailbone. And every time I sit down, it hurts. Well, it doesn't hurt when I sit down, but when I stand up, it hurts. It's super bad. And I don't know how to deal with it. I mean, how can I ask someone to give me a massage on my tailbone? I don't want to give my ass to someone I don't know. Like, come on. Oh my god, man. I've been talking a lot. Hold on. Let me drink my tea. It's already cold. It hurts? Yeah, man. Okay. We were talking about fiction in general, right? Oh, fantasy. Right, we were talking about fantasy. So how fantasy can a fantasy get? So when we talk about fantasy, like, we're talking about like a fantasy world, right? Which brings up the question, in my opinion, like, how do life came to be in a fantasy world? Now, okay, so this is like the point where we diverge, right? So for Lord of the Rings, it's like Middle Earth. So it makes sense that like horses exist, for example, right? I'm actually writing like a high fantasy world, which means that the world is totally different from ours. And to that extent, I'm actually creating a whole new biosphere, like with their like an entirely different plant, entirely different animals, even entirely different humans. Like, the way humans work in my fantasy world differs from real life. Like, that's like the level of fantasy that I think is worthy of a fantasy world, right? But a lot of fantasy, in my opinion, is kind of weird because they have dragons, but they still have like cows, horses. Like, if you think about it, in a world where such massive threats exist, how can a horse survive, right? So, right, if you look at a cow, like, how do they defend themselves? That's why, like, cows in my world are really beefy, like they have thick skin, for example, and they are a different creature because they have to survive this world that has dragons in it. But then again, like, is it necessary to go that far? That's the thing. Like, it might work for me, but it's not like everyone expects there to be like an entirely different world with entirely different like biosphere with their own creatures. Like, for some people, having horses is fine, you know, right? For me, it doesn't work well, but for most people, fantasy of that level is enough. It's adequate. So how fantasy can a fantasy be fantasy? Most of the time they use it as a point of reference for horses and cows. Yeah. And in a way also I think it's like a way to ground the fantasy world a bit. Like we know horses, right? So oh yeah, there are horses in this game, in this world, and like oh yeah, of course there are cavalry in this world, right? That's like the idea behind it, in my opinion. And right now I'm in a dilemma too, by the way. Not only about creatures but also technology. How do people get swords? I have to research about that. How do people build castles? Or how do people get to the point where they have to build castles? Oh, they have to have reinforced positions to defend their territory, walls and stuff, and they want to live in a fortified location because they are rulers of certain lands. That's why they have castles. Castles are military installations. They live there sometimes. So a castle has to be a place where someone can stay in, because a fortified location doesn't have to be a castle. But castle is a fortified location. So when you see a fortified location but it doesn't have a place to live in, it's just a fortified location. Maybe, for example, like a fortified, no, like a fort, right? A castle is a single building where people can live in, but a fort doesn't have to have a castle. So like a fort can have like, oh yeah, there is this campsite where like we all have like our, like this is our campsite, but we built walls around it. And what do we call that? We don't call it a normal campsite, we call it a fort. Yeah, so those kind of stuff, right? Like the semantics, like the meanings behind certain things is what I need to do. And I believe people should do that a lot more because, like, yeah, the world needs to make sense. But how far can you take that before it becomes too much, right? For some people, having like, you know, oh yeah, there are real life stuff with fantasy stuff in it. For some people, that's adequate. Like Harry Potter has a fantasy world. It's our world equivalent with fantasy stuff in it. And people are fine with that. Which comes to the conclusion that like, and like even like in some worlds too, like if you look at a bunch of fiction, they still have horses, they still have birds, they still have pigeons and stuff. And people are okay with that. So in a way, is it really necessary to build a world that is totally different than ours? Perhaps not. But it would be cool, right? For some people. This is like the point of contention, right? Some people like it, some people don't like it. And it's all about like choosing and picking your audience. If you are trying to aim for the audience of like, you know, like the high fantasy crowd, then having a world that is totally different, that is thoroughly explained with their own set of rules, then it might be worthwhile to go that route. To go like the extra mile to actually provide that kind of world for people to be immersed in. But remember that the most important part of a story is not the world itself, but the story itself. Because you can have a very intricate world, but if it has no story, then people just won't care about it. And this is me projecting too, because I have a massive world right now, but I have no story for it yet. That's why I'm trying to write a story for it now. I'm trying to like redeem myself in that way. Because again, we have to make people care about certain things, not expect people to like the things that we like. And I think like the process of writing that way is super fun. Because like, what do people like? Like, how do I get people to care about this castle, for example, right? Like, I have these really cool castle designs, but how do I get people to care about it? Because I really like this castle and I want people to care about it, right? So you give them a plot like, oh yeah, you remember character A that was revealed last time to be like a lord or something, like a person in place of power? Yeah, this is where he lives, right? So we already got a connection there. People care about, know the castle as the person's A's castle. And then we move on to like, So why is this castle so important? Why do you want us to care, right? Set like events that happens in this place, maybe set like story hooks and plots to take place in said castle, right? I mean, you can say like, oh, Hogwarts, right? But if you don't have the story taking place there, people don't care about Hogwarts, you know? Like for example, like, imagine a Harry Potter story without Hogwarts. Like, yeah, I mean, Hogwarts exists, but it's kind of there. I mean, and like, okay, even in Harry Potter alone, like there are like other schools, right? There are other magic schools in the Harry Potter universe, but we don't care about those as much because the story doesn't take place there. But they exist. I mean, it's cool and all to have this world that the story exists in, but the audience aren't obligated to care about the entire thing. So it is important to help the people care about the world by by writing more story about it. And I think a lot of people forget about that. A lot of authors forget about that fact, you know. We need to write the story too, dear authors. Man, I've been talking a lot. I'm so sorry if I'm too loud. Warhammer 40k, let me introduce myself. Yeah, there we go. No, not really. At least that's my opinion, because it's the novelty that a novel have to offer. It's only a very different world, but still telling the same story than it is just as set dressing. Yeah, there we go. A novel is a story. Like a novel has a world, but a world doesn't necessarily have a novel, right? So if you want a novel, if you want a story has a world, but a world doesn't necessarily have a story, and people care about a story a lot more than the world, right? So people care about the world of Dragon Ball because they care about the world. They care they care about the story, the story about Dragon Ball. They care about the characters. So, for example, like Piccolo, right? They care about the Namekian planet. They care about the Namekian race because they care about Piccolo, for example. What kind of race is he? Like, we get to know the Namekian race from Piccolo because, you know, oh yeah, they have regeneration powers. Like, they have like a very high endurance. They can fight for a long time. Hold on, I'm just jumping around here. I'm so sorry. But yeah. That's the point though, like if you want people to care about your world, you need to write a story to complement that, because people care about story rather than the world. The world comes after the story. But for us authors, we care about the world, right? Because that's where the story takes place in. So that's like the difference between perspective, right? As an audience, we care more a lot about the story, but as an author, we care a lot more about the world because it's where the story takes place in. It is our sandbox in a way. So I still believe like world building is important, but remember that like if you want your world to be recognized, make sure to have a good story to go along with that. But yeah, I think we've run out of cobblestones here, and I think we're running out of topics. So I think it's high time that we end the stream. Maybe we can talk about certain things before we end the stream though, because I've just been like walking around here talking about shit. I'll be talking more on the art stream. Okay, I don't know if I'm gonna do an art stream today because I'm kind of sick right now, but I'll let you guys know. I'll keep you guys updated on the Discord server. So yeah, just stay tuned if you want more content about this. But yeah, I think that's it for today. I mean, that's it for this stream. I think we made a lot of progress on the builds here. Like this was supposed to be a castle, but it ended up turning into like a reactor or like a power plant kind of thing. So I'm trying to replicate that aesthetic. So we have 4 pillars there, and then everything is connected. I'm gonna make like, you know, like impromptu pipes and shit that will connect all of the towers maybe. And then our friend has built this massive Ambrosium thing. It is in the Aether Mod. This is like, or in the Aether Mod world, this one is like a source of power. So I'm planning on putting the Ambrosium up there, and we'll have to build the platform for that, which is what we are doing in this playthrough, basically. But yeah, I guess that's it for today, folks. Let me just play my outro song. But yeah, I think condensed stream like this is fine by itself, because I believe like there's a lot of streamers that like to prolong their stream so long that there aren't any content in the stream, and I don't want that to happen again to me, because that's what happened to me a bunch of times in the past. Like I want to provide good content, right? So if I can provide good content for only 1.5 hours, for example, I will only stream for half an hour because I want you guys, because I want to appreciate the time that you guys have spared for this channel, right? But yeah, I think that's it for today. Let me just go to the, oh, hold on. I can't really do that, huh? Let me just turn off the game capture. There we go. Yay! But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Here is the outro song. Hold on. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time. I don't know if I'm gonna be streaming an art stream later, but I'll see you guys there, I guess. Stay tuned, and I hope you guys take care of yourselves. Just go to the Discord, yeah. In Discord? Maybe. Yeah, see ya.